were you able to just kind of take it in stride as part of your day?
Yeah, I think it's just something that you roll with. It definitely was a little unusual at that age, at that time in my career, my life, but you just kind of roll with it and obviously not try to overthink it too much and just try to go out there every night and play.
And then so you've skated with Bedard. What do you think separates him now and is probably going to allow him to be an excellent NHL player as well?
Well, I think the first thing you see is his release, his shot. Obviously, it's NHL-like already, and I mean, I see it in the summer all the time, and it's elite. So I mean, that's one thing. But also, he's a smart player. He's a good skater. He's kind of got all the tools. But I think more than anything, his shot probably separates him. But I think all his abilities help him get to those spots to be able to release that shot.
Ryan, just because Reed got you on the subject, I'm curious, you said you've been skating with him for years. Do you remember your first time and what the impressions were? I imagine they're kind of similar to what... Yeah.
He was really young when he first came out to skate with us. He might have been like 10 or 11 or 12, and he just kind of came out and didn't do the whole practice with us, but kind of was out there to start. And even then, we were watching him shoot, and we were like, this is not normal for a 11-year-old. But and then obviously, as you kind of watched him get older, grow up, and his shot and his abilities just kept getting better and better. So it's kind of been fun to watch him progress as a player and also as a person. I mean, like I said before, he's a humble kid and a good head on his shoulders. So definitely looking forward to watching him this year.
I know you've got a good wrister on the power play, but were you already envious of his shot? You're talking about at 11, 12. Like, could he shoot it like that even back then?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe when he got to like 13, 14, 15, he started to be able to release it like that. I mean, as a 10, 11-year-old, you just don't have the physical strength to be able to do it. But like I said, compared to other kids his age, at that point, he was already pretty far advanced.
And I know orange is the team color of the Oilers too, but does orange on this day mean anything, specifically to you, or anything that you like to kind of convey with wearing the orange shirt today?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think it's a day to honor them and pay our respects. So I think for us to just be able to put these shirts on and think about that, take a minute to think about that is important today.
Ryan, what's the goal? You address a pretty veteran lineup tonight. What do you try and pull out of these exhibition games? I think everybody knows it's not going to be, 1,000 miles an hour all night long, but like, what do you try and pull out of it as a group, do you think?
Obviously, for the guys who haven't played yet, we want to get those games in and start to feel like a hockey player again. I mean, you can practice so much, but you don't really feel comfortable and confident out there until you start playing games. So, I mean, it's about getting our legs under us, get that timing back, and start kind of gluing together again. Obviously, most of the guys are still around from last year, and I mean, we went pretty far. We were clicking together, and we want to get that back as quick as possible. So for a few of us, it's the first chance to do that. For other guys, they've been doing that for the past few games. So it's just about kind of getting your feet going and getting that timing back right now.
What would you say about the evolution of McDavid as a goal scorer? So 44 last season. He's got a pretty good goal-scoring winger in Evander Kane potentially this year. But from a goal-scoring standpoint, if McDavid decides he wanted to just go ham this year and get as many as he could, what do you think is possible? And how do you think he approaches it in terms of, the focus on that versus just making the right play in the moment?
Yeah, I think Connor's always about making the right play in the moment. So I'm sure, I mean, obviously the numbers he's put up in the past are incredible, goals-wise, but I think he's always going to be a guy that uses his teammates, uses his line mates. He's making them better. He's definitely playing with them, and he's making the right decision at the right time. So whether that's taking an end-to-end sometimes, like he has to do, he can obviously pull that out, and other times it's just using his line mates. And I think with Connor, it's not about those kind of ideas of just, okay, I just want to score. I want to score as much as I possibly can. I think it's about making the team better and making the right play at the right time.
Taking into account how fit players are coming into camp, some teams only play 6 games. Your team is, virtually picked before camp even starts. What are your thoughts on an 8-game preseason schedule?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably a little much. I mean, I think 8 games, 9 games. We've played 9 games in the past. It's a lot of games, but obviously you don't play every game. I think for the more veteran guys to play a handful of games is enough to kind of get your feet going and just get that timing and feeling good again. So, I mean, I'm not sure how they figure out how many games you're going to play in exhibition, but obviously it gives the young guys a chance to get some NHL experience and kind of go from there. But for the more veteran guys, I feel like everybody's kind of comfortable with 3 to 5 games and ready to go from there.
That's my next question. As a veteran guy, how many do you want? How many do you need?
Somewhere in that range, 3 to 5. It's depending on how you feel, obviously, but you don't want to come into the season unsure of how your game is and unsure of how you're feeling. So obviously you want a few games to get into the rhythm and to start feeling good, but you also don't want to come in fatigued or feeling tired. You want to be ready to go.
Ryan, the power play here has been really good for a long time. So they say if it's not broke, don't fix it. But at the same time, you can't let things stagnate. So how do you guys walk that line between not messing with something that's been so effective, but at the same time, you have to make some tweaks and adjustments here and there?
Yeah, well, I think our power play moves around a lot. We can switch positions and stuff, so it does give us different looks. Like you said, you don't want to be stagnant. I mean, you want to give different looks because otherwise teams can watch video and key on certain aspects of your power play and take advantage of that. So, I mean, we like to change things up, and I think we're our best when we're just playing. It's obviously you want to be in that structure, but when we shoot the puck and get it back, those little plays open up, and I think that's kind of where we play our best. So it's kind of about showing different looks at different times, but I think one of the things that's given us success in the past is our ability to kind of move positions and have different guys in different areas.
So camp's been going on for a long time. If you go back to the captain skates, and then you guys were together during rookies, and you've been together for. So what do you accomplish during that stage where you're kind of almost I wouldn't say on your own, but a lot of the time it's just the guys practicing together?
I mean, obviously getting into more of game shape. It's tough to replicate until you actually play a full NHL game, but we do the best we can before camp, even of getting that intensity level ramped up, and also just getting back to the guys and start getting the chemistry going again and hanging out outside of the rink and stuff like that. I think all those things are important. So we had a good lead up to camp, and camp's been going well, but now it's time to buckle down and start really building our game here.
Sorry, Ryan, just one last one for me. I don't think you've had very much experience playing with Ryan McLeod yet, and I'm just curious how you feel that has been going in practices, and 2 centers kind of playing together. How do you guys feel like you can maybe build off each other there, work off each other?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's a talented player, smart player, so I think as a centerman, I mean, I've had experience before playing with centermen on the same line, obviously, so and so is he. But obviously a great skater. You see him kind of moving and getting his feet going. You want to give him the puck and let him go a little bit. But obviously he reads the play well. He's a smart player, and Fogue's on the other side too. Explosive player, great shot. So, I mean, I think for us tonight, we will probably want to just keep things simple and try to work things low and start to build that chemistry. Yep, no problem.
Connor's been a long time since you played in a game. What are the emotions like going into tonight, and what kind of the expectations of yourself as you kind of get going here in the start of the year here?
Yeah, I mean, hockey's one thing, but just like to take a moment to recognize what today is in this country. And, obviously it's Truth and Reconciliation Day. And I think it's a time for all of us to reflect and remember, our country's history and, continue to work on ourselves and, continue to reconcile with the Indigenous people, our brothers and sisters in this country, and, continue to make our country inclusive.
I was going to ask about that, and unless you're unlike me, I didn't learn a lot about it in school. Did you? And what have you kind of maybe done the last couple of years to really learn a lot more about this?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I learned as much as they kind of teach through growing up and through school, and I think now's a great opportunity to continue to educate yourself on kind of the history of the country and how we came to be and kind of what has happened, and yeah. I
just wonder, I know team goals matter to you more than anything else, but is this the year 50 goals for you would kind of be in the cards, or is that kind of a real goal for you this year?
You know what? This team has kind of done the individual awards thing and the stats and all that, so our focus is on team only and winning games and getting ourselves into a good spot to continue to take steps forward. Obviously, getting into the playoffs is the first step through the year, but getting off to a good start is super important. So, first preseason game here tonight for a large majority of us, and looking forward to that. Just trying to work out the kinks, I guess.
You haven't played. We saw you at the game against Winnipeg. Have you had an opportunity are you keeping an eye? I realize you guys were skating back at Edmonton during the rookie tournament, but are you excited about, some of the guys that are pushing up, a kid like Dylan Holloway as an example?
Yeah, for sure. I think Dylan's had a great camp, great rookie tournament. He's kind of done everything that's been asked of him, and he's still a young kid, and he's had some bad luck with injuries, and so he's kind of just getting his feet wet into camp, and it's been impressive so far to see what he's done. But I think the rookies as a whole have looked real good, I think. So it's a good sign.
Do you sense that there's more competition for positions here and that the organization's deeper and at a better place maybe than in prior years when you were here?
For sure. I think there was definitely a time, when I was kind of young in the league where, we'd be looking to the first round pick to come in and play a big role. And this year, obviously, Reed came in and was great, but no one was expecting him to come in and make the team, and just kind of allowed him to get the experience and head back to junior and continue to develop. So I think it's a good sign for the organization that we're not looking for young kids to come in and I guess move the needle. They can come in and push for jobs, and that's great, but they're not here to, I guess, make the team, I would say, but not to say that they can't, but.
Getting back a little bit to what Daniel brought up about the 50-goal thing, I just wonder about how much you tailor your game to the people that are playing on your line. So, for example, if you're going to play a bunch with Evander Kane this year, you got a pretty good shot on your left side. Do you shape your game to the strengths around you, and goal totals and assists will fluctuate somewhat based on that?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's for sure something that I think about. When I'm on the ice with Leo, I think the game maybe a little bit differently. When I'm on the ice with other guys, I think a little bit differently too. So obviously playing with Evander and Yamo, two guys that can score. Obviously Kaner can put the puck in from just about anywhere. So trying to get him the puck as much as possible. But, scoring goals is the most difficult thing in this league. I genuinely believe that. And, some guys have a knack for it, and others have to really work for it. And I would fall into the latter there. So, just continuing to round out my game is the focus.
Yeah, along those lines of rounding it out, you talk sometimes about trying to, find fresh ways to attack. Maybe you're working on specific things in the off season. How much as a group is that part of it? Working in new things, maybe figuring out different ways, different looks so that you can't necessarily just be pre-scouted and some fresh stuff.
For sure. I mean, the core here has been together for a long time, and especially our power play. Our power play has been successful for a long time, but I felt kind of just throughout the year that teams are getting used to the same old look. So continuing to throw new looks, continuing to throw little wrinkles into your game is so important. I mean, today's game is so well coached, and it's so well pre-scouted that you have to make little adjustments here and there and keep everyone on their toes.
Your thoughts on the preseason schedule? Some teams play 6, some teams play 8. You guys show up in fabulous shape right from the start now, as opposed to 20 years ago. There's not a ton of jobs here. You need it for the goals, a couple, but not a whole bunch. Is 8 games too many?
I would tend to think that 8 is too many. I would, but understanding that it's the preseason and it's a chance for lots of different guys to get looks. Ultimately, though, as guys that are going to be on the opening day roster, you want to be able to get your game up to speed and get our team game up to speed, and I think that's where we're at now in camp. And I thought everyone's kind of come in and done, everything that's been asked of them, but I think it's time for us to get our game where it needs to be and ready for opening night.
So, as an individual, I guess I would ask you how many games you feel like you want, and how many games you think your power play needs and your line mates need. What does it take for you to be ready for the regular season?
Yeah, it'll probably take 3 or 4 for me. I've had years where you play 4 or 5. I've had years where you didn't get any. It's kind of got to be ready no matter what happens. So I feel like my game is in a good place, but we'll find out tonight pretty quick where it's going to be at. But it's just kind of step one, right? So definitely looking forward to getting out there and playing against some real competition and seeing where I'm at and seeing where our team's at. I think also kind of what's lost is the flow of the game, right? Guys, Clouder's been playing 25 minutes, it seems like, in preseason games, and those are big minutes, and I'm not sure he's going to play that much in a game, so he needs to feel the rhythm of the game as well. So with everyone in the lineup, so there's definitely a team rhythm that we need to get into as well.
There's a lot of younger players, and obviously you were in this boat years ago, getting the captaincy at a very young age. Brad Marchand, about a week ago, to paraphrase, said it's almost unfair because players don't know much about the league coming in. I'm just wondering what it was like for you to get the captaincy at that age, and how long it took you to kind of feel comfortable, and what you kind of learned in the first couple of years of it.
Yeah, it's definitely a learning experience, and there's no really way to prepare for that. I certainly. It was a huge honor to be named captain and to be named so young, and I feel in a lot of ways I've kind of grown into the role. I maybe wasn't ready at 19, but I've had 6 years of experience being a captain, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. So definitely a lot of learning on the job as you go, and I feel very good about being the leader of the team and wearing that letter, and I take it with great pride and try to do everything I can possible to help the team win. Perfect. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Jay, before we get to the game tonight, maybe just a thought on what today means, and all your players have been adorned in lots of orange, and I imagine it's something you guys have addressed as a group.
Yeah, it's obviously a day of reflection. Truth and Reconciliation Day is an important day for our city, for our province, and for the country in general. Just talking with some of the people involved with our organization, continue to mention and talk about the land acknowledgement that we see before every Oilers home game, and also a lot of the great work that our organization does with an organization called Bent Arrow. So important day, as I said, for our city, our province, and our country.
I want to ask you about McDavid and the goal-scoring evolution. 44 last season. I think there's a sense that if he sets his mind to getting as many goals as he possibly can, who knows what sort of total he can push, but that's not necessarily the way he processes the game. It's about the right play in the right moment. So what do you see about his hunger to score goals versus the hunger to win, and how, there's sometimes can be a clash there. If a guy wanted to be more selfish, he could probably get more.
Yeah, I would agree with your assessment. I think probably one of the words that doesn't get used enough to describe Connor is how unselfish of a hockey player he is. And that's a great quality in a teammate. But I think, and I have 100% belief that when the play to be made is to shoot, I think Connor will shoot that puck. But he is driven by making the right play in the right moment. And, obviously, you know about his playmaking ability, but he's got a great shot too. He can put it where he wants it, and it's something he's worked a lot on over the years.
So it's a long camp. There's a lot of players, and you have sort of all these different balls in the air. You have the veterans who you kind of, you know what they're going to be about, but you also have to evaluate some young guys. So how do you map everything out? And is it kind of a moving target, or did you know before camp even started that you were going to wait till game 4 before starting a lot of your top guys?
Yeah, I knew where we were going to introduce some players into game action. We we talked about this the other day, is that there's also requirements on the amount of veterans that have to play in NHL preseason games as well. So you got to factor all that kind of stuff in. I think you start out with a game plan of when people will play what games, and then you watch too. You watch as camp develops, but certainly this was a day we were going to introduce some players that haven't played yet.
A lot of what they do is on their own in the off season, right? Their summer training, their captain skates. What do you see when you walk in the door for medicals and your first practice from the veterans this season?
Yeah, I've been quite pleased with how training camp has gone. We talked yesterday how it's almost in phases, the training camp, but that first day I saw our leaders come in top condition and show how important it was to be in top shape in order to have the type of year that we want to have. So I was quite pleased with that. I've been very pleased with the pace of practice, the amount of teaching that we've been able to get done while balancing the need for the work rate to be high, especially early. I said right off the bat that we had a few goals heading into training camp. One of them was to test and then grow our conditioning level. The other one was to compete versus each other so that one day we can compete for each other. I think we've accomplished both of those things right off the bat. And then the last thing we talked about was building our playing personnel. And that's something that's going to get chipped away at each day that we're together, but we're laying a good foundation for it.
Hey, Jay, you mentioned the phases there. You talked about them yesterday, phases of training camp.
Yeah.
You said phase 3 doesn't really officially start or the next phase doesn't really start till next week, but is this kind of like a new chapter in the sense that you're playing so many of these veteran guys and you maybe want to see what you have tonight in this group?
Yeah, I think, it kind of goes to the previous question there with, this week we were tasked with playing 5 games in a short amount of time, 3 of which are on the road. We're excited about the lineup that we're introducing. I would say to you that we've gotten a lot of really good practices in with some players that haven't played yet. I think they're sick of practicing. I think they're ready to go against live fire kind of competition, jerseys of a different color, jerseys of a different logo, that type of thing. So, while we've gotten a lot of good practices in, I think our top players are excited about playing against a different opponent.
I don't recall you using Ryan McLeod and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins too much together last year. What intrigues you about that possibility? And 2 guys that can play center, how do you kind of see them, working around and together?
I'll start with the last part of the question. I would say I think centermen have the ability to play anywhere. They can play right, left. They have that ability to be moved around the lineup. What intrigued us about putting RNH and Clowder together was that we think they have some skills that can complement each other, and we wanted to take a look at that. And tonight's our first look in a game action at that. That's what training camp's for. It's to maybe experiment with a few things and see if we can find chemistry in areas that haven't been tried out before, and that's one we're going to start with tonight.
Jay, you talked about Connor and scoring goals and such. As a coach, some centers shoot the puck. Matthews is a shooter. He's not a passer. Maybe that's because he plays with Marner. But as a coach, do you notice that? McKinnon likes to shoot the puck a lot, but he plays center, not the wing. Do you, as a coach, to game plan for those centers who likes to shoot the puck a lot as opposed to passing?
Yeah, I think that goes in your game plan for sure. Those players you mentioned are pretty good hockey players, pretty well-rounded. I think when describing them, you go to maybe their primary asset, but they have some other secondary skills to their game. I think with Connor, not only is he, the way he plays the game is his skills are sublime. But I don't think he gets enough credit for how well-rounded of a player he is. I saw him take a step as the season wore on last year. He keeps getting better. I've had the good fortune of seeing when he first came into the league and to see where he was then, which was electrifying at that time, but to see where he is as a complete player now, it's impressive, and it's a credit to all the hard work that he puts in and the value he puts on every aspect of the game. So, it's hard to put him into a box with only one word.
Jay, I just wanted to ask you about Connor's leadership. He was asked about the captaincy and said, yeah, maybe it was a little challenging when you're that young. You were there then, and you're here now with a break in between from being around him on an everyday basis. I wonder if you could give us an idea of, we see on the ice, but maybe some leadership abilities that he's grown into that you see more often away from the rink, different places than the general public would see.
Yeah, well, I think number one, he's a very caring person. He cares about individuals. He cares to get to know people on an individual level. Maybe the public doesn't get to see all the behind the scenes parts of that, but I can tell you I've noticed that over the years. And as captain, I think that falls within his purview, is to make sure that everybody is feeling good and comfortable and accepted members of the group. I also think, as I've seen him mature, that he does a good job of holding people accountable. I think, it's that aspect of things is also important. He comes to the rink every day with a purpose to be the best that he can be, a purpose to be the best in the world, a purpose to help lead our team forward. And he doesn't suffer people that aren't all in that kind of quest. And so for me, that's the true form of leadership. It's not just setting an example, but it's holding others to a certain standard. He does that every day with how he comes to the rink, for sure, but he's not afraid that if people are falling short, to either help them out or call attention to the fact that we need more. And I think those are the marks of a great leader. And I know that in my 18 years in professional hockey, I've seen some really good ones, and Connor's right at that level.
So with your power play, there's so much elite talent on it that I'm sure automatically going to be no matter what, which isn't obviously the case to the full extent. What do you guys do to sort of stay ahead of the curve in that cat and mouse game where the other guys are breaking down your film, so you have to change something, but you don't want to change too much because it's working?
Yeah, I'd start with the fact that three of the main pieces in Connor, Leon, and Nuge, they've been together for quite a long time, so they understand each other's tendencies. They almost speak a shorthand when it comes to power play. Different people have been introduced over the years. I remember Chase On and James Neal and those type of guys were net front players. Now you're seeing Puljujärvi play some net front. Even Kane plays some net front. Certainly Zach Hyman plays some net front. And then you've had quarterbacks kind of change over the years. I think as a coaching staff, the way you continue to grow is by study. That's what happens in the summertime, and it happens throughout the season as well. So studying penalty kills, studying where other teams are having success on the power play, and then the introduction of those ideas to your players to see what fits with your team's skill sets. I think players also have great ideas. So you have to be open to ask questions and listen to them, because they feel certain things on the ice and they feel where pressure is coming from. They feel where seams might be open, and to discuss that and have an open dialogue, I also think is important. Good, thanks guys.